Guys, we are back. I don't know about you guys, but it feels like we're back. Album out. Stream it everywhere. But mainly Bandcamp, because they the best music. First video back, also out. Pretty serious with it, but it's been something I've been working on for a little bit now. And another one about the Backrooms movie that I totally planned on releasing a video about. Whoa, my mouth is weird. And there's already a new one out. This one. We could indeed be so back. So, let's have a little fun with this one. Quick first thing that comes to your mind. Don't think ever, what is the most bland musical genre out today? Like, talk back to your phone, Sesame Street style. Okay, yeah, I guess country, but like for the purposes of this video, the other one you were probably thinking was pop music. When the origins of the name are derived simply from popular music, you'd think that'd cover a pretty decent amount of ground when it came to sound profile, right? Over the years of incessant radio play and damn near step-by-step rules to follow to ensure a soulless radio smash hit, pop music has really had its name dragged through the mud. And I think it's a real shame because we're losing what pop was at its core. Fun. 4 chords and whisper-sung vocals can only get you so excited. And aside from the occasional finger-waggable TikTok anthem that pops up every month or so, I find it very bland. But what if I told you it does not have to be this way? Bubbling under the surface and about to explode into pop culture zeitgeist, like a cigarette lighter thrown into a campfire. There are glimpses of genuine fun and risk-taking still being made in the genre, that have the capability to inject life into a sound that some, like me, have almost entirely written off. I'm happy to report, pop music's getting weird. It felt like in the past 2 or 3 years, pop music had a very fortunate identity crisis. The seed got planted of, oh wait, this shit doesn't have to be boring. At the risk of dogpiling onto this extended horse beating session, in my opinion, the modern renaissance of pop experimentation and aesthetic is Brat. Charli XCX's monster runaway success can have a lot of roots traced back to it in spite of it being barely 2 years old. Tracks like Von Dutch, 360, Sympathy is a Knife, Club Classic, these are just such interesting takes on electropop, utilizing elements of EDM, bubblegum bass, and electro clash. Say what you will about Brat's staying power / oversaturation, the critical and commercial success of such a bold and unapologetic mix of grimy aesthetic and non-traditional mainstream influences made Brat a record that I see being referred to back in a historical context as the start of weirder pop infecting the mainstream. With this aesthetic being notable and people aren't hesitant to say they enjoy, it's embraced as a true alternative and something to be looked at as cool to a wider music listening audience. Damn, that was like the best I've ever read anything ever. But I wasn't sitting around thinking about Brat and decided to make this video. Like a large chunk of my videos, a recent release has spurred this topic to mind. A record I was extremely excited about from the singles. One I had a feeling was going to be something, but my intuition has been off before. However, I could have never anticipated the overwhelming positive reaction this record would have. Almost too positive. Because now the tour tickets are like $1 billion. Worst Girl in America. Slater with 3 Ys is the chronically online pop it girl right now. Off the heels of her latest studio album, Worst Girl in America. Adulation that is totally deserved. I found Slater in her transition from her vintage Hollywood synthpop era on Starfucker to this new sound, the track No Comma. Loud, blown out, abrasive, a checklist for things I'd fuck with. So my hype train started there, and one fire single after another, beat up Chanel's, Crank, Old Technology, turned this into one of my most anticipated albums of the year. And I think it's such a great case study and starting point when discussing this new age of pop music that not so clean, predictable, or polished. It's the album cover. Bright, grimy as hell. Fucking awesome. There's abrasion all over this album, where vocally, Slater fits less into the role of a pop vocalist and more of a screamo performer. Crank is such a bizarre industrial club track. Every sound on this track is distorted in some way, and the drop here is insane. It's what happens when a pop star goes into the studio listening to Death Grips. Yes God is amongst the most shrill on the album, with a chorus of literally just screaming Yes God at the top of her lungs, with more blown out 808s and guitars, and possibly the most accurate Justice worship breakdown at the end of this track. and I was absolutely losing my mind first time hearing this. Saint Loser as well brings up more booming and driving 808s with choruses of borderline noise, but still maintaining a pop song structure. Even the more traditional pop tracks retain their infectious nature while weaving in weirdness throughout. Beat Up Chanel's, Brittany Murphy, and Gas Station all come to mind. Listen, I could sit here all day and rattle off almost every song on the track list and go in depth on why they're so awesome. Like, fuck, I didn't even mention Old Technology. Let the record show. Old Technology. I saw her live at fucking Penn State for some reason, and she was a great show. Wish the crowd kind of gave more of a fuck and it wasn't so wet and cold, but still great. And yes, if you were in attendance, I was the guy holding the record on the barricade, still actively looking to get that signed. I did manage to snag tickets to her Boston show, though. I know Slater is very chronically online, so if you're seeing this, great album, and let's make things right. I'll see you in Boston. But what is arguably more admirable than the fantastic piece of music Slater created is how receptive the public has been to it. Seeing her stock rise as a direct result from this album's release was so refreshing. Tour tickets selling out and upgrading just to be sold out again, huge merch numbers, and her being one of the artists to look out for at Coachella this year. And very, very recently making her late night debut. Seeing an artist get rewarded for taking stylistic risks just puts a smile on my face. How could it not? It's only like June, and I wrote this in early April, but Worst Girl in America could really be an Album of the Year contender for myself. So we have artists that I'm parlaying the next big thing moniker to, but there's an example of an artist that already had, / is still having their moment. That might not be as blown out or abrasive as Slater, went in a unique direction production-wise, and is seeing success in the mainstream. Insane success in the mainstream. Pinkpantheress. I realize I set the bar kind of high with Worst Girl in America on the abrasion scale, and putting it back to back with Fancy That is kind of like Hydrogen Bomb Coughing Baby, but I found Pinkpantheress' new mixtape to be a breath of fresh air in the mainstream, when compared to the current crop of sounds coming from it. Pinkpantheress as an entity is very admirable to me. A pop artist with roots in UK drum and bass, self-producing her own music, with a strong affinity towards sample usage and mixing with Apple headphones, she's literally me. Her first moment in the sun from her collab with Ice Spice really put her on a larger stage, and she generated that into pretty big hype for her next project or mixtape. Fancy That is such a fun, interesting, and catchy sound that I'm pleased got such a warm reception upon release. To the point, tracks like Illegal, Tonight, and now Stateside have become insanely huge tracks, with the latter going #1 months after it released. UK garage, contemporary R&B, and liquid drum and bass aren't exactly sounds that guarantee mainstream success. And who the fuck getting Billboard #1s with hella samples on they shit? It seems to be coming from a blatant lack of fear and conformity. I'm super happy those more relatively lesser known genres to the public are becoming as big as they are. And it helps the fact that the deep cuts on the project are pretty awesome too. Girl Like Me is a super fun, bubbly, upbeat track with such danceable and housey piano breaks that just flow perfectly with the catchy ass vocal refrains, with it receiving a slight bump since the music video dropped. Noises is a straight breakbeat song halfway in the track list, with really gorgeous orchestral string arrangements that pair super well with the chaotic drums and soft vocals. And Nice to Know You, which is becoming my favorite on the mixtape, taking the shape of a Plunderphonics track almost, with more classically arranged string sections and upbeat drums from The Streets, and a vocal hook from William Orbit and the Sugar Babes. Just a super fun and emotionally potent track. While Fancy That isn't anywhere near the most distorted or ho-scaring of the bunch, Pinkpantheress' effortless combo of traditional pop structure and aesthetics with her classic UK garage and drum and bass sound should be looked at as a case study that the wider public is ready for more unique and weird elements in their music. Which is great, because artists being able to be influenced by these sounds will undoubtedly only be a net positive. More large artists seeing it's more interesting to push boundaries and they don't get shut down will undoubtedly have ripple effects through mainstream pop music in coming times. I also recently saw Pinkpantheress live in Philly, and she just oozes star power and was an incredible show. Her being able to build such a following from this sound is incredible and super exciting to see how she evolves musically next. As my last spotlight of this video, I would like to highlight someone whose influence on pop music is going to be seismic. But they haven't quite hit the level of mass appeal that they deserve yet. A super fun project from this year that I hope will be the blueprint to pop and dance music in the future. You. When I'm with you, it feels like... Not you, the viewer. You by underscore. Sorry, I was just accepting my first guy to ever make that joke award. Yeah, I know it's a candle. Save your breath. I'm a grown man. I don't be having loose trophies in my house. Underscores as a project has been on my radar since the debut, Skin Purifying Treatment, via guy I do a podcast with. And something about her latest album, You, feels like the project has reached a final form, so to speak. You is what happens when hyperpop reaches its logical conclusion, in my opinion. Underscore's new album mixes traditional pop structure and elements with EDM, dance, and house, with super fun and catchy vocal performances to boot, for a maximalist pop record for the ages. And the bangers on here hit hard, like the single, Do It. One of my favorites off the record, a sentence I feel like I can describe most of the tracks here with, but an infectious hook and mixed with, stay with me here, Britney Spears-esque chopped guitars, and electronic tinged sound effects that I feel could easily have a stint on pop radio legit. Innuendo is another standout. Percussion and synth hits that sound like gunshots in a 16-bit shooter. A healthy amount of distortion and driving beats that evolves effortlessly into a bright, energetic last third of the song. But it's not all bangers. Underscore shows her range on this record with a somber heavy hitter, Love Field. Delicate synth plucks and April's vulnerable vocal performance sets the stage for this track for it to slowly unfold with fat 808s and playful snaps, swelling into one of the best beat drops on the album. From ballad to banger, upbeat drums and impassioned vocals only Underscores can make a song to simultaneously shed tears to and turn up to in the span of a few minutes. And the only artist on this list that I have not seen live. I'd love to, but again, supply and demand. So maybe someday soon. And maybe I'll finally get my chance, because as of me making this video, it's been announced that she's going on tour with fucking Charli XCX. Remember? The person from earlier in the video? That is absolutely huge, and a major congratulations is in order for April. That's awesome, and hopefully my superstardom prediction will soon come true with her performing in front of all those new eyes. A great record from this year that, again, I'm ecstatic is getting the critical acclaim it is. And I think that's the linchpin here. It's not like this alternative sound is on the fringes and people aren't fucking with it. People like Underscores, Pinkpantheress, and Slater releasing music like this and being met with people screaming, "Yes, more of this please," is great. This video being written shortly after Coachella, and all three artists had universal appeal with their sets and appearances. To wrap up my thoughts and get to the point, it's very comforting to see artists pushing the definition of pop music and being rewarded for it, which will undoubtedly have an effect in the future, with inspiration being taken by more and more upcoming artists, and they might just be able to make pop music a heavy hitter again, not just some shit that plays over the JCPenney speakers for customers. That analogy kind of got away from me, but it's getting weird, and that's great.